His name is Arthur Jansen. I hope I pronounced it right. He's a data science specialist who has worked for our partner company, Dun Bradstreet, since January 2021. So let me tell you a bit more about our partner itself. So, Dun Bradstreet is a leading global provider of mission-critical data and insights to help their clients progress. One of their products is Dun Bradstreet Data Cloud that offers the world's most comprehensive business data and analytical insights to power today's most crucial business needs. Delivered through the Dun Bradstreet Data Cloud and their market-leading solutions, their data and insights help you accelerate revenue, manage risk, lower costs, and transform your businesses. Global businesses of all sizes rely on their data, insight, and analytics. That's why 90% of the Fortune 500 and companies of all sizes around the world rely on Dun Bradstreet to help grow and protect their businesses. See how well that written. Okay, Arthur, let's talk a bit more about you. You have finished your master's degree in 2017, and since then you are a data scientist on the rise. You used to work as data scientist for Ernst & Young, right? And for Swan Insights, as I can see here. So you're going to give us an insight of disrupting lead generation through artificial intelligence, but before that, we're going to see 2 videos from our partners, and then you're on, okay? Thank you, and when we finish with videos, give applause to Arthur.
With a world of information at their fingertips, buyers are savvier than ever, and the competition for their attention is intense. To set yourself apart, build strong relationships with prospects, and eventually win their business, your sales and marketing teams need to be closely aligned. But nearly 40% of sellers don't feel they have the right account intelligence to engage with prospects in a meaningful way. That's where D&B Hoovers comes in. D&B Hoovers is a sales intelligence solution packed with insight. Through the use of Dun & Bradstreet's world-class data and analytics, D&B Hoovers empowers your sellers to target more strategically with dynamic search capabilities and easy-to-use list-building capabilities. Once you've identified your target audience, D&B Hoovers provides comprehensive company profiles that enable sellers to have more informed conversations. We can even help you get in the door faster with real-time trigger alerts, including updates about business, social, and digital events. With a complete understanding of the company, sellers quickly gain trust and credibility, allowing them to advance the selling process. Integration across CRM and marketing automation platforms is seamless, enabling sales and marketing to run coordinated, multi-channel campaigns that target decision makers within your key accounts. When your teams are working from the same quality data, they can create a more integrated customer experience and build pipeline faster. Let D&B Hoovers help you accelerate the path from prospect to profitable relationship. Visit dnb.com/dnbhoovers to get your free trial today.
Thank you for the introduction. Okay. Imagine if you wouldn't spend hours in meetings with potential clients that are obviously not interested in your products. Imagine if you could have the right prospect at the right time. From a recent report from 2021 from HubSpot, 61% of marketers think that getting high-quality leads is the biggest challenge for the organization. And it's easily understandable why when you look at the traditional approach of lead generation. Actually, it has not really changed in the last decade, and it still mostly relies on official public data sources. Data sources like the financial data or the annual report that are published only once a year, data sources like the firmographic data that are published even less often, or activity codes of companies that never change when the company has been created. And on top of that, usually only basic statistics are applied to find the best prospect from this data. This traditional approach of lead generation works poorly, especially with emerging sectors where the situation changes quickly and the static data is not enough. But what if we could have more accurate and more dynamic company representation? Well, at Dun Bradstreet, we've been working on a new product to improve the lead generation. Our product is built on 3 core ideas. The first one is the integration of online data. By online data, we mean website content, news, social media. These are dynamic data that can represent quickly when the situation of a company changes. The second core idea is the use of various machine learning models to process all these different kind of data. Because we have different kind of data types, we have textual data, we have image data, graph data, we need different kind of machine learning models to handle them all. The third core idea is the automation and the scalability of our model. We want to generate leads across markets and across languages. And that's why with these 3 core ideas, so the online data, the various machine learning models, and the scalability, we build the B2B lead generation product to find the right prospect at the right time. The idea behind the B2B lead generation product is quite simple. Imagine you are a B2B company and you look for new clients. Usually you have a list of existing customers. And based on these existing customers, the B2B lead generation product will understand what you look for in the companies and will propose you a list of the best potential prospects with a similarity score associated to it to represent the similarity with your existing customers. So that's the basic idea of the B2B lead generation product. Now I would like to go a bit more into details. This product can be divided into 4 phases. The first phase is the input phase. It's where we define the companies to look at. Then we have the enrichment phase, where we enrich the companies with both traditional data, like the financial information, and online data, like the website contents. And then we have the learning phase, where we learn the characteristics of the existing customers. And then we have the prediction phase, where we propose the best potential clients, prospects for the client. So now I would like to go to each phase one by one. The first phase is then the input phase, where we define the companies to look at. Obviously, we have the list of the existing customers, because the machine learning model is based on them. But we also have the list of the potential prospects. So remember, one of the 3 core ideas was the scalability. Here, the list of prospects can be from a few thousand companies up to several millions of companies. We built our product so it's able to handle this amount of data. Then we have the enrichment phase. This is the most important but also the most complex phase, because that's where we enrich all the companies, so all these millions of companies, with both traditional data and online data. But that's mostly where we process all this data with from different data sources and with different data types, and we process all this data, so we transform them into numerical values. It's important to transform all this data into the same data type, so we can use them all in the same machine learning model in the learning phase. And so once we have all this data transformed into numerical values, we can go to the enrichment phase, to the learning phase, sorry. In the learning phase, we learn the characteristics of the existing customers based on this data. And once we have understood the characteristics of the existing customers, we go to the prediction phase, where we will look at these characteristics in each of the potential prospects and give them a score associated to them to represent the similarity with the existing customers. So now that you have a good idea of what is the B2B lead generation product, I would like to introduce you with a project we had in the past. So this project was with a leader in the organization of trade fairs and exhibitions. They were organizing trade fairs all over the world, and the challenge was that they wanted to find new exhibitors for different of their trade fairs. We worked with more than 20 different trade fairs for them. The B2B lead generation product was a really good fit for them, because at the same time, they wanted to find worldwide prospects, meaning that we had to handle several millions of potential prospects as input. But at the same time, the trade fairs they were organizing were very specific, meaning that the number of companies actually willing to participate in these trade fairs was very low. So we had several companies as input for a very small output. To show you the specificity of these trade fairs, I would like to give you an example. One of the trade fairs on which we worked is a trade fair on the technical textile industry. So you understand that the number of companies in this technical textile industry is not high, and so the number of good potential prospects is not really high. And so with this use case in mind, I would like to go back to the enrichment phase. So remember, the enrichment phase is between the input phase, where we define the companies to look at, and the learning phase, where we learn the characteristics of the existing customers. The enrichment phase is the most important one because that's where magic happens, and that's where we enrich all the companies with both traditional data and online data, and that's where we process all these data sources with different data types, from raw and structured data to structured numerical values. It's important to have a structured data so that we can use them all this data in the same single machine learning model in the learning phase. And because all these data types are so different, we use different machine learning model depending on the data sources. We used natural language processing for textual data, we used CNN for image data, or representation learning for graph data, etc., etc. So now I would like to go through a few examples of these data sources so you understand how we went from raw unstructured data to structured numerical values. The first one is the website text. This is by far the most important data sources we have, because that's where most of the information of a company lies, on the text of their website. But how did we go? How did we do to go from raw textual data to numerical values? Well, at first, we looked at the website text of the existing customers. We tried to understand what they were talking about on their website. And we tried to understand the keywords they were using, the topics they were discussing of. And once we understood these keywords and topics, we would look at the exact same keywords and topics in the website text of the potential prospects. And that's by comparing the keywords and topics from the potential prospects with the keywords and topics from the existing customers that we could compute a text similarity score for each of the prospects. And that's how we went from raw textual data to numerical values, to the text similarity score. So now, let's take an example so you understand it better. So remember this use case of the trade fair in the technical textile industry. These are two examples of companies in the potential prospects. So the first example is a company in the technical textile industry, so a good prospect, while the second one is a company in the generic textile industry. So not the technical textile, and so it's not really a good prospect. And by looking at the keywords and topics on their website, we can directly see that the first example have much more meaningful keywords. We find keywords around high-performance fabrics or around technology. While the second one, well, we found some keywords but they are too generic. We find keywords around wool, for instance, but it's around textile but too generic. And that's why our NLP model was able to give a much higher text similarity score to the first example, because the keywords we found were much meaningful for this specific trade fair. And so that's how we went from this raw textual data to structured numerical values. Now I would like to give you a second example, the website images. So actually for this one, we've been using it more recently, and we haven't used it for this technical textile trade fair. The first project where we used the website images was a project with an energy company. And this energy company was looking for new clients in the transportation service that would be willing to buy more ecological fuel. So the use case is an energy company looking for new clients in the transportation service willing to buy more ecological fuel. And for this use case, for one reason or another, the website text was not enough. And so we thought, well, what do the websites of transportation services have in common? Well, they have images of trucks on their website. And so we thought, well, how could we use these images to find the best prospect in the transportation service? And so the question was how we could extract the topics from these images and transform the raw image data into structured numerical values. Well, the logic we used is kind of the same than for the website text. First, we look at the images of the existing customers, and we try to understand the topics shown on their images. And when we understood these topics, we look at the images of the potential prospect, and we compare the topics from these potential prospects with the topics from the existing customers, and we compute an image similarity score. And so that's how we went from raw image data to structured numerical values. So let's have an example. So remember this use case of the energy company looking for transportation service clients and willing to buy, more ecological fuel. Yes, so this slide is just to explain how we went from this raw image data to, and how we extracted the topics. Because in practice, we didn't really extract the topics, we more developed a deep convolutional neural network to have a mathematical representation of the image. So a vector in the high dimensional space that would be like an abstract version of the topics from this image. And that's really by comparing this mathematical vector with the mathematical vector of the potential prospects that we computed this image similarity score. So for the example, let's take two different images from the potential prospects. So the first image is an image of a fleet of trucks. So it should be a good image for a transportation service company. The second one is an image of a forest. Well, our deep learning model was able to understand that the first image had a much higher image similarity score because it represented an image of a fleet of trucks. The second one is as a forest, it's a good image for the ecological side of the companies, but it's just a forest, and we can't really, from this image, we can't really understand if it's a company in the transportation service, and that's why it got a lower image similarity score. And so that's how we went from this raw image data to the structured numerical values. So we have much more data sources, but you don't have the time to go through them all, but it's always the same logic. We try to find a way to go from this raw data to the structured numerical values. Because once we have the structured numerical values, we can go to the learning phase where we use a boosting algorithm to learn the characteristics of these existing customers based on the numerical values. And then we go to the prediction phase where we use inference to find a similarity score for each of the potential prospects. So when we created this product, we were quite proud of it, but the product can be as technologically advanced as possible. If it doesn't solve a real business problem, it's not really useful for companies. So we worked with the sales team of this first use case, so this organizer of trade fairs. We worked with the sales team to compute the precision of our approach compared to the traditional approach. So for the traditional approach, the sales team did the exercise on the 20 different trade fairs with which we worked. So not only the technical textile trade fair, all the trade fairs. And before calling us, when they were doing the traditional approach, meaning that when they were generating this list of best potential prospects, only 15% of them were actually good prospects. Well, with our approach, we were able to increase this precision by 70 percentage points, and we reached a precision of 85%, meaning that from the list of generated good prospects, actually 85 of them were really good prospects. So the list we generated were a bit smaller than the one from the traditional approach, but because of the higher precision, we were still able to find much more actually good prospects in the list. And also, because we have a much higher precision, the sales team was able to spend less time on meetings with clients that were not interested in their product. So of course, this product of B2B lead generation was a really good fit for this trade fair company because they were looking for worldwide prospects and they had really specific trade fairs. But nevertheless, we could always have a better precision in the project we did compared to the traditional approach. And that's how we could say that the B2B lead generation product helped the sales team refocus on what they do best to convert good prospects into actual clients. Thank you.
Since we're running a bit late, we will just have time for one question. I'm so sorry, Arthur, but is there any very important question you would like to ask? Yeah, there is one. Okay, in the last row. While we're getting the question, this is for you. Thank you very much. You did great.
Thank you.
Okay, Željko is just saying that there will be time for some more questions since you were finished before your cue.
Okay, hello. Thank you very much for the nice presentation. I have a question. Do you have any experience with B2C companies? And in this case, what would you recommend would be the features or the characteristics you would want to extract, and how would you go about it? Thank you.
So actually, no, we don't have experience in this because the thing that is difficult with B2C companies is that you have all this GDPR aspect and the privacy aspect, so it's really difficult to gather this online data about real people, and that's why we focused more on this B2B. If I had recommendation to say it's yeah, it's really difficult. I would say that, for instance, I would target specific social media around people, and especially have a partnership with this social media, because, for instance, the problem with most of the social media is that they don't accept you to crawl the data, which is normal. The only exception is Twitter. But for instance, if you want to have data on people, you could go to LinkedIn and ask for a partnership. But without this kind of partnership, it's really difficult to crawl this data. So I think it would be really difficult to do this B2C lead generation.
We do have time for one more. If there are some. We do have one here in the first row, please. Thank you very much.
For presentation, I would like to ask, how did you build your initial model? Because what you're showing is just a set of models that produce.
Sorry, could you repeat? I didn't understand.
How did you build your initial model for your, what was it, textile companies? Because I assume it's a lot of manual work to go web scrape the websites. How much time did it take you? And yeah, because all your examples is like inference on top of it. So any insights on that?
Yeah. So actually, we started to work on this project 4 years ago. So I'm in the data science team, so I focused on this machine learning model. For instance, for this crawling, we have a really good team of data engineers, and they created a product we have in-house at DNB, which is the website downloader, and it allowed us to download all the website contents of companies, given a list of URLs. So the good thing is that at DNB, we have a lot of B2B data. So for instance, we have most of the companies in the world, and we have their URLs associated to it. So it's a good start because we have this data, and from the URLs, we can crawl all the data. And so once we have all these website contents in our database, we can more easily build this machine learning model on them. And you were right that at the beginning it was a lot of manual tasks, but now it's fully automated, and yeah.
You have like domain experts who label all your websites. This belongs to this company or this domain, and this belongs to that.
Yes, so actually, for instance, I don't really have contact with the clients because usually it's sales team in every country of DNB where they have more domain knowledge with the client, and they know what kind of companies they are looking for, what kind of keywords they are looking for. For instance, at the beginning, when we built this B2B lead generation product, we would create this keywords list for the website text manually. And so we had to have this domain expertise. So now it's done automatically from the website text of the existing customers. But at the beginning, it's true that we had a lot of interactions with domain knowledge people.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you,
Thank you.
Arthur.